Hey guys, my name is Rob, and in today's video I'm going to be breaking down my top reasons why I choose to rent my home instead of buying the home that I live in. And I thought the best way to really start that off is to break it into three major categories. And the way that I've done it is I've broken it into financial advantages and my practical advantages as well as my emotional advantages. So I'll spell that out for you guys. Now, the main financial reason why I choose to rent instead of buying is the really big one is to make my capital more productive. I genuinely believe that if I was to spend a lot of money in the down payment, in the stamp duty, in the transaction costs of buying my own home, there is quite a big amount of money and equity that's going into that home that is what I believe unproductive, which I could be using elsewhere to outperform the amount of interest that I'd be incurring for the loan there as well. To put it into a huge extreme, imagine I could buy the house that I lived in with cash, and would that be a good use of my equity or of my capital, as opposed to buying a business with cash and have no debt, or putting it in the share market with no debt as well? So I believe that I could create far more wealth with that same capital when it comes to living in my own home. So that's why I choose to rent financially. The second big reason is you actually get a lot more money and a lot more flex for your money, I guess. I believe that and certainly here for Australia, that if you are to, or I guess the major cities in Australia, if you were to rent a property, the value of the property is going to be far in excess of the amount that you're repaying in the rent, in the sense that there's a pretty good chance that the amount of rent that they're asking for, if you were to put that same amount of cash flow into a mortgage, you would actually not be able to afford the same value of a house. And so that's why I think for the same money, if I was to dedicate and commit that same cash flow on a weekly basis for the place that I live, I would actually get a far nicer house, because I believe it's a lifestyle choice. I'd actually get a far nicer house for what it is, or a better location for that same money compared to what I could afford if I had to buy it and then pay back repayments. And the third financial reason why I choose to rent is because it gives me a fixed cost of living. I know that on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, that is going to be my expenses. Its interest rates won't fluctuate, that won't matter, so it's going to be the same. If something kind of breaks down or anything like that, then that's not a cost to me as well. So that is a fixed monthly payment in that regard as well. So I really like that aspect of it. Now, from a practical perspective, my top three reasons for renting instead of buying from a practical perspective is that I get to choose to live in the most convenient location for my situation, whether that be close to work or for my kids' schools at the moment, close to friends, close to where my parents are, that sort of thing. I can choose the most convenient location for where I need to be, even if I might not be able to afford to buy in that area. So it certainly opens up the doors that way, because usually the most convenient locations do tend to cost more. The second reason from a practical perspective is if things do break down, and I touched on this before, if things do break down at a rental property, then it's the landlord's issue to fix that. So for example, if an aircon doesn't work, or if a lock breaks, or if the garage door's not working, or the gate's not working, or the plumbing stops, all those sorts of things need to be addressed by the landlord, and that does not come at a cost to me. I just need to notify the real estate agent, and they will get those things rectified. So I don't really need to have a kind of slush fund or emergency fund for repairs and maintenance when it comes to the home that I live in. And the last practical reason is life happens. I have a family of two young children. I have elderly parents as well. So life changes and life happens. So if things do change, then I do have the flexibility of just getting up and moving without much of a cost. That really is just the moving cost. Whereas if you compare that to having a home that I did own, then I would be incurring the cost of whether it be advertising and selling the home, getting it staged, and then paying real estate agent fees for the commission of selling it while it's on the market, and then buying the new place, I would be incurring stamp duty there as well. So the cost to transact in the event that a situation changes, whether I need to move to a more convenient location or I just need to upsize or downsize based on the needs that I require for my family, I just believe that the flexibility is really there when it comes to renting. And the last three things from an emotional perspective as to why I rent instead of buying the home that I have is, I guess it comes down to flex. I can actually, because it is a lifestyle choice, I can find a place that really suits me and gets me really good value for money. I can afford to rent quite high-end homes, probably more than what I would ever want to commit my capital towards, and still be able to, I guess, live the lifestyle and the luxury of that. When people come over to my house and they see my big 6-bedroom, 5-bathroom, 2 living room, 4 garage house with city views, they're not coming in and the first question isn't, oh geez, do you rent this or do you buy this? People don't know. I get to live it, whether I own this or not. This is where I live. This is where I get to receive the benefit of this. I get to receive the benefit of the space. I get to receive the benefit of the location that it's at, because it suits my lifestyle. And if that changes, then I'll just move. So that's really the one of the big emotional benefits of this. Second is, and I touched on it slightly on the practical side as well, just the peace of mind. If things break down or things need to get fixed, then that's not on me to really be responsible to fix that. Of course, if I damage things, if I scratch the floors or I break a door or something like that, then of course I need to fix that. But if that was my own home, I'd have to fix that anyway. So there's no real difference there. Whereas if, say, like a pool pump breaks down or something like that, that's all taken care of by the landlord. And lastly, I also spoke about this, just the idea of being flexible. My life is changing all the time. My kids' life, my wife's lives, everyone's lives are changing all the time. So I have that flexibility. Do I want to upgrade to a nicer looking place? Do I want to upgrade to a bigger place? Do I want to move to a location that is more suited to the schools that I want to send my kids to? Usually I will be able to just have that peace of mind, the idea of locking in a whole bunch of capital and then being subject to the transaction costs of moving or buying or selling the house that I own, and then moving and buying and moving into a new house that I own. The costs of transactions there, when you're talking in the $1.5 million to $2 million price range, you're looking at about close to $50,000 of transaction costs, which to me is just completely sunk once you factor in the agent commission fees and the stamp duty of the new place, and you still have the cost of moving. So even if you broke a lease early and you had to pay that out because a new opportunity came up, the cost of that at worst would be 4 weeks of rent or so, which might come at a cost of, let's just assume it's about $1,000 a week. That's $4,000. That's $4,000 of sunk costs, which you're paying to your landlord, versus $50,000 of sunk costs, which you're paying to your real estate agent and also to the government for stamp duty. So I would much rather pay $4,000, and that's at worst if I can just get a nice smooth transition that's at the end of my lease, that sort of thing. I don't have any transaction costs at all. I just need to move. And both circumstances, whether I'm moving from one rental to another or moving from a house that I own to another house that I own, the moving cost is the same. So that's a zero sum calculation. So it's just the cost to transact. And for me, having that flexibility from a emotional perspective, knowing that that's just not going to tie me up and I can just move without having to go, oh, is it worth it from the money perspective? That's a really big pro for me from an emotional perspective as well, which is also why I don't sign really long leases, because again, I might have to break that in the future because life happens. So those were the main reasons why I choose to rent instead of buy the home that I live in. Now, as a full disclaimer, I'm certainly not against purchasing real estate. I actually do own my own real estate, but I am a landlord for that, so I collect rent and I can reap the benefit of the capital growth of those ones. So I'm very, very much for owning real estate, because to grow your wealth. I'm just in my situation, it doesn't make sense for me to buy the home that I live in, because I can make better use of all those things, and affords me a better lifestyle and better use of my money, and gives me a lot of emotional peace of mind as a result of that. So hopefully that helps clear things up, and that's answered some of the questions. In the next video, I'm going to go through some of the cons that people do address in terms of renting versus owning the home that you live in, and I'm going to go through my reasons why I believe those cons are acceptable for me. Until then, see you later. Bye.